Well, how are you doing today, everybody? It's John Morrow. Welcome to Resolve to Live Forward. Thank you so much for your patience with me. Last Friday, I did not put out this episode. It's only coming out today. This is a Monday. We are now fully into the month of March. Last Friday, just really had a very, very exciting and special weekend. There was the previous weekend on the 21st of February, I was involved in a TEDx that was held in a place called Lake Alfred, Florida. That's Lake Alfred, Florida. Lake Alfred is actually nestled. It's like an oasis in a sense, but I've been in Florida such a long time that to me it's easy to find an oasis. But Lake Alfred is situated in Polk County, which is in the heart of central Florida between the Tampa Bay area and the Orlando metropolitan area, including Disney. Polk County is the home of Lakeland, Florida, Winter Haven, Florida, Auburndale, Florida. It's the home of Lake Wales, Florida, Bartow, Florida, Mulberry, Florida, and Haines City, Florida. But it's also the home of Lake Alfred, a community of 10,000 people nestled along US Highway 92 on the way between the Winter Haven Auburndale area and Haines City in what I call the Four Corners. And the Four Corners area of Central Florida is, and I don't have hard evidence, this is what I've heard through reading, correspondence and news articles and other general demographic information. The Four Corners area, which is the collection, excuse me, of Polk County, Orange County, which is Orlando Metro, Osceola County, which is Kissimmee, Disney, Champions Gate, and Lake County, which is really a strong connection to all of the other three. This place where these four counties come in very close proximity to each other is one of the fastest growing areas in the state of Florida. And so Lake Alfred is uniquely positioned. And our particular event, which was held on the 21st of February, was held outdoors. I'd never seen a TEDx that was done outdoors. Most of them are done inside. In retrospect, it probably would have been nice if we could have done it indoors, simply because the high temperature that day was 88 degrees and there was absolutely no shade whatsoever for anybody, for the speakers and for the audience. So a lot of people were running to and from the building, which is there on McKay Park on beautiful Lake Alfred, just to stay in the shade or to get completely out of the heat. But the thing about it is that it was for me a milestone in my life. So I wanted to be sure to let you know what was going on with that. And then this past weekend, as part of my leadership in Toastmasters District 84 here in Florida, I was working with two of my area directors. These are individuals who have oversight over 4 to 5 individual clubs to help in their having success. And there is a competitive nature to Toastmasters where we have these contests, of course, all of them culminating with the World Championship of Public Speaking, which will be coming up in August in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, where the Toastmasters annual conference will take place, and the World Championship of Public Speaking will be the marquee event that takes place towards the end of that week-long event. This was all part of the things that keep one busy. I like being busy. I'm reminded when I'm very busy that I'm not as young as I used to be. But I'm not going to let my age be a deterrent. Instead, I'm going to work as hard as possible and as diligently as possible to get things done. Which brings me to the next point. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you here on this particular broadcast. Resolve to Live Forward, the podcast, is available on a number of podcast sites. And I've been promising you that I would actually let you know what podcast platforms this podcast is actually published to. And I will also tell you that they are a part of a network of podcasts that are available through a hosting platform called Buzzsprout. I will indicate to you the two that I almost always mention, which is Apple or the iTunes Store, but they call it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, but also I'm available on Amazon Music. I'm reading the list here. Podcast Index, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, one that I'm very familiar with, Pocket Casts, Listen Notes, and Player FM. Now, I do have my own YouTube channel, but soon I'm going to be submitting this podcast through Buzzsprout for the overall publication to YouTube as part of YouTube podcasts. But I do have a YouTube channel under the name of Resolve to Live Forward, John Morrow. So you can find me up there if you look under the name John Morrow DTM, or Resolve to Live Forward. Okay, I've talked quite a bit about the setup stuff here and everything, but I'm in no hurry. But I want to share with you something that has to do with, of course, we've been going through this process of talking about the word resolve is an acronym. It's not new. Those of you that have been following me for any length of time know that it was the word resolve, which my wife and I chose as the power word that wound up being not just a power word for the year 2018, but beginning in 2019 would be a power word for life. It became an important life-saving and life-giving piece of my life, and I continue to carry this word, and I am highly, highly resolved in what I do. I have definite, firm plan of action, and I believe that, excuse me, setting goals for ourselves is extremely important. And the first goal we need to set is to take care of ourselves. Then we broke it down, those 7 letters, RESOLVE, into behaviors. These behaviors can vary. If you were to choose resolve, you could choose any word you think that fits a behavior that you long for. When you use a power word and then you break it into an acronym to give you each letter having an emphasis for a behavioral pattern that you want to set, it's creating structure. We talked about the letter R for resiliency or resilience, the letter E for engagement, or to engage life, people, and every opportunity possible each day, including the unexpected. The S for service, but serving with a selfless mindset. The O for organization, and having an optimal organizational structure that allows you to also make definite, firm plans of action and have an end in mind. The letter L for the love of learning. Now we have arrived at the letter V. V is for vision, or having a visionary mindset. I'm going to read to you this outline that I created here for you so we can talk about that. I live with intention, not inertia. Inertia. Interesting. Yeah, I get inertia. Inertia is something that we experience every day in the very process of mobility. The reason why I mention mobility is because for years I worked in the automobile insurance industry as an automobile accident claims adjuster. I dealt primarily with the mechanism that caused injuries to people and helping them with their medical care. I'm not a physician, but what I did is I made sure that they were getting the appropriate medical care that they wanted to choose for themselves, and that care met the criteria for the nature of the injuries they sustained in the automobile accident, and that those providers were being paid. But that's a story for another day, because I have certain feelings about insurance and about the insurance laws in the state and about the highly litigious nature of automobile accidents, not just in the state of Florida, but around the country. It's a subject that can stir up a lot of emotions, and there are two clear, definite sides that are at odds with each other. And within that, there are people that hate one another, and it's sad because hatred never really solved any problem. It just stirs up more and foments more acrimony and unkindness. And I believe in the idea of communication as a mechanism for connection and understanding, and even the ability to agree to disagree, but that's another story. But the idea of inertia is simply Don't let the circumstances drive you. Um, make the circumstances something you intentionally choose to do. Everything about moving forward with a definite, firm plan of action is about choice. That's why my particular TEDx talk was entitled Living Forward is a Choice. Living forward doesn't have to be by inertia, and there's nothing wrong with inertia being there. There are events that do shove us into situations where we have to find a way to either live forward or find a way to escape it. But intention is where you have control. And so the personal best practices that are associated with, and I'm just going to read them here from the list that I made when I took my notes. Personal best practice number one under vision is I define what a good life means for me, not others. Noticed I added that phrase, not others. You don't need to leave, you don't need to live your life on the basis of what others may think, feel, and want you to do. You live your life on the basis of what's important for you. Now, I'm not telling you to be egotistic. I'm not telling you to be overly centristic and self-centered. I'm telling you that you have to take care of you first, because by taking care of yourself first with the right mindset, you will be the best version of you for the people that need you, love you, care for you, count on you, and then for all the people that you will have the opportunity to meet. You will never be all things to all people. So get the vision in your mind that you want to be the best version of yourself, but remain true to yourself at all times. Now, the second best practice is I set a short-term direction even when long-term clarity is still forming. This really does go back to the idea of a definite, firm plan of action. Think of the linear thing. Here is that beginning. Here is the end in mind. Now, is it a straight line? No, it's it's primarily straight. It's fairly linear. But what makes it unique is that between here and here, here and here, there are intermediate points. I often tell people in a visionary mindset, you picture, but over the course of time, that picture becomes more vivid. It's like your dream house. You might cut out a picture of a house from a magazine and create a vision board. And on the vision board, that house is there. But over the course of time, as you look online for images and as you go through periodicals and magazines and other books, or happen to go and visit open houses or tour places where they're building homes, you find pictures and documentation of, I'd like to have that. Oh, I see myself having that. And what happens is that the vision, the picture, the clarity of the thing you see, that home, gets more and more defined right down to the number of rooms, what's in each room, what are the amenities, what are the colors, what is the furnishing like. It's the idea of creating a much clearer picture. And the more that picture becomes clear in your mind, the more the reality of it can occur. Before it to become a reality, there are things you have to do in the intermediate while you're clarifying. So as you progress forward, as it says here, short-term direction, you set that short-term direction even when long-term clarity is still forming. Now, the third best practice is you revisit and refine the goals as life evolves. We should always be in a goal-setting mindset. We also should understand that we have to pivot. We have to make adjustments. We have to fall back, edit, readjust. We may even have to chart a different course because some things turn out not to work out for us as well as they need to be, and they're truly not to our benefit. We have to remember, too, that during this process, we can't be so selfish that we neglect the fact that our actions and what we are striving to do and where we're striving to wind up at does have an impact upon people we come in contact with, starting first with the people that matter the most in your life, and that's your family and loved ones, but also your extended families, a range of individuals that are people that you come into contact with that are like associations, and then those unexpected, surprising, periodic people, both those that become a delight to meet and get to know, and those who, frankly, you just want to stay away from them. Now, so revisit and refine goals as your life moves forward, as your life evolves. And the last best practice is make decisions today that my future self will thank me for later. Do we all have regrets? Of course we do. But the key thing here, as I say, as far as good mental health, is you can't go change what happened in the past. You can change and learn from what's happened in the past. And through that change, you can be a better version of you. But at the end of the day, you want to get better at making the right kinds of choices so the future you, if you see the light of that day, will look back and say, I'm glad I did that. There's a story that I will probably share with you at some point in future episodes about those last few words that I had with my wife before she passed away. They were deeply, deeply meaningful to me, but I think they were perhaps even more meaningful to her. And the thing about it is that I'm thankful more than you'll ever know for saying them to her at that particular moment, because in retrospect, I realize the last words she heard me say before she had her cardiac arrest were words which were of loving endearment and cherish. So here's the living forward truth. Vision gives today a destination. Wow. Vision gives today a destination. I will conclude with this little quick story. This is Monday. By the time this goes out around 12 noon today, hopefully a lot of people will be able to pick up on it over the course of the hours and days and weeks moving ahead. Today is correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the second day of the month of March. It's also now less than a week until we have to spring forward 1 hour for daylight savings time. That is for everybody except the great folks in Arizona who I think have it right and are the only state that does have it right when it comes to time. Then, of course, there's this whole process of the events that have been taking place in my life and the tremendously high increase in the adrenaline in my body, the stuff that drives and motivates me. It's been thrilling. It's been exciting. There have been moments of great anxiety, but the anxiety is not so much a fear of something that would harm me, but that, I want so desperately to do this well. And it's the biggest thing that's ever crossed my path in my current life. And the TED Talk was that. And then that whole week after the TED Talk was getting ready for this contest and hoping that it would go off good, and then the satisfaction of it going off good. But the strangest thing, though, about that Saturday night after those contests, and really the culmination, while at the same time, knowing that immediately starting yesterday, I would start the process of building towards a divisional contest for Toastmasters in this part of Florida. And a lot of work to do because I'm the person responsible for making it happen and I'm building a team around me. So a lot of things flowing through my head. And I'm organizing them and knowing that there is a destination there. Again, let me read this best practice. Vision gives today a destination. So I don't know what was going on with me on Saturday night. I was up and down all night. Up and down all night. No caffeine involved. No caffeine of any type, not even from green tea or definitely not coffee. I make it a habit never hardly ever in the afternoons after 12 noon to drink anything with caffeine in it. But just some way, somehow, Saturday night, I had a terrible night's sleep. But I got up Sunday morning and I went to church. And it was a wonderful experience for me. I always enjoy the fellowship of being with the people that I attend church with. It's part of my faith and it's part of the way I've lived my life since I can recall. I was told I started going to church when I was 3 years of age. Now, I came home and I made a decision. After dropping off some important information to a fellow Toastmaster over in Winter Haven, just 11 miles to my east, and making arrangements with her help to pick up this material towards the end of the week in preparation for this next Saturday, the 7th of March, when we have our division contest. I did that, and then I came home and I had a bite to eat, and then I chose to detach, to let myself stop thinking about those events. Now, it wasn't something that just happened. I had to check myself. I had to keep checking myself so that I didn't allow that thing to creep in that would cause me to begin to get anxiety. You see how it raises the level? Sometimes the goal in vision is to allow yourself a chance to decompress. So my vision for yesterday was to decompress, to relax, and to just enjoy things for my personal benefit. Because as you know, I do live alone. And I have these three remarkable fur-clad creatures that are part of the feline community, my cats, and they are my companions. So it's just us four. And I enjoyed myself. And I wound my day down by just simply taking it easy, not just on my body, but on my mind. Letting it clear up and letting fresh air come in. How that looks for you, I don't know. I only know this is how I was able to do it. But here's the important thing. When I finally did lay my head down on my pillow, I had no problem falling asleep, and I slept through the night in a wonderful way, one of the most restful nights of sleep I've ever had. And when I woke up this morning, I felt exhilarated, refreshed, and ready. I knew that today was the day for me to begin the process of setting the goals and having a definite, firm plan of action in front of me and an end in mind, and I did that. And in the process of doing it, I'm beginning this day in a very positive fashion. And part of that was taking the time to gather with you. And it's just Monday. And I will be doing the things involving getting this up on the site as well as on my YouTube channel. But I'm also working on the contests that are coming up this Saturday. I'm working on Toastmasters meetings that I have an integral part in that'll take place tonight, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night. And then there are other events. Plus, I've got a speaking engagement on Thursday morning for a breakfast with Kiwanis. All of this tends to make my life extremely busy, but the thing about it is that there's a definite destination in mind. So I'm allowing myself through the practice of clarity and understanding and forgivingness of my own self and not letting my limitations get in the way of my ability to maximize my abilities. I am just simply living forward. And living forward includes the unexpected. And there will be unpleasant surprises as well as delightful surprises, but throughout the entire course, the entire process of living a resolved lifestyle where you resolve to live forward is the entire purpose in your life to achieve positive goals for yourself that benefit you, but never so much do you focus on yourself that you forget that you are needed by and will come in contact with people, and you want that experience to be as good as possible, and you want that to be as beneficial to them as possible. So having a visionary mindset is not about being selfish. It's about seeing clear-cut goals, understanding that you don't need complete clarity at the end to realize that as you're going through, you're making adjustments by hitting intermediate goals. It's kind of like this in that linear path, and I'll conclude. You have a start position, you have initial goals, you have short-term goals, you have intermediate goals, and then you have the long-term goals, and then you have the end in mind. All of these are things which are part of living a life that is balanced through the resolve mindset. Vision. We'll talk more about that in our next gathering when I come to you again in just a handful of days. Thank you for joining me. This has been Resolve to Live Forward, the podcast, heard on multiple podcast platforms and also on my YouTube channel. My email is johnmorrowcoaching@gmail.com. johnmorrowcoaching@gmail.com. I have spoken enough. It's time for me to wrap up. Thank you for being with me. Let me wish you a great, great, great week. And no matter where you're at, please, if you feel so inclined, give me some feedback. But thank you for downloading this podcast and for taking the time to listen to it. I hope it is something that is beneficial to you. John Morrow saying so long. And as I like to always say, each and every day, always keep living forward. Bye bye for now.